Hi, this is Walt Mossberg from the Wall Street Journal, and this week I have my review of the third generation iPad from Apple, which is simply called iPad. They've dropped the numbering system they used in the last model, the iPad 2. It costs the same entry-level price as the iPad 2, $499, and at first glance it looks pretty much identical. It isn't a complete revamp of the iPad, but I believe that it represents a significant improvement in several key areas that keeps the iPad at the top of the tablet market as a choice for consumers. Now, the two big things in the new iPad are the display and the cellular data speed. Let me start with the display. It's not as if the streets have been filled with people complaining about the way their iPad screens look. In fact, most people when they first see an iPad are quite impressed by the screen. But what Apple has done is to drastically, not marginally, but drastically improve the resolution and the color saturation of the screen on the new iPad. It packs 4 times as many pixels into the same space as the original iPad, and the effect is something you have to see. Watching it on this video on your computer or even on another device is probably not going to do it for you. It's particularly noticeable when you put the iPad 2 or any other tablet next to this new iPad. If you're looking at the same text, suddenly the letters on the old one seem fuzzier, and I would compare it to sort of getting a new glasses prescription. You're suddenly aware that things look sharper than you thought they could. The other big deal is cellular data speed. The iPad is hardly the first device to have 4G LTE cellular data speed, and this is an option, by the way, on the iPad. But it's a dramatic improvement over the cellular data speed on the iPad 2. In fact, in my test, it was roughly 17 times faster on average. There's also a much better rear camera. In fact, it wouldn't be hard to be better because one of the real weak points in the iPad 2 was that for taking photos, the rear camera wasn't particularly good. This is a very good camera. In my tests, I really loved the pictures and the videos that it took. But what about trade-offs? How could they do all this, particularly the display and the cellular speed without trade-offs? Well, there is one major trade-off, and another one you might expect did not occur. The one that did occur is that this is about 7 or 8% thicker and heavier than the iPad 2. It's still thinner and lighter than the original iPad, but Apple can no longer even come close to claiming that it has the thinnest and lightest tablet like it did when it introduced the iPad 2. In my experience testing this, I did not find the increased weight and thickness to be a problem, but obviously different people have different points of view on it. The other trade-off you might have expected to see is in battery life, because after all, you're driving a tremendously higher resolution screen and a battery draining fast cellular network. But in my standard battery test that I use for all tablets, where I run videos back to back and keep the screen turned up pretty high and keep both the cellular and the Wi-Fi on, the new iPad logged 9 hours and 58 minutes. That's 2 minutes short of Apple's maximum claim, and about 11 minutes less than the iPad 2. I have never tested another tablet that comes even close to the iPad's battery life, and even though it degraded by 11 minutes in my test from a year ago, it still is much higher than any other tablet I've tested. Well, there's much more in my column in the print Wall Street Journal and on WSJ.com and allthingsd.com, but my bottom line is that while Apple hasn't torn apart and rebuilt the iPad in a way that's unrecognizable, it has made some really significant improvements in key features that matter to people. And the iPad remains the tablet that I recommend over all the others for my readers. This is Walt Mossberg, and I'll see you next week.